Okay, I already have my neighbor's permission, or they know that I'm doing this, so I'm going to go ahead and just take their box off quickly so I get more light for the video, plus just better access point for me. You don't obviously have to do this. Again, theirs is screwed in. It looks like when this box was replaced, I'm not sure who did the installation. I highly recommend screws, by the way, anyway. It makes it a lot easier to remove. Maybe not the inside ones, but when you have two boxes up next to each other. That's something I need to plan for this new installation here, so let me think about that a bit, how I'm going to do my inside installation. So here's their box, and this is probably a good opportunity to show you the mounting plate that's there. And again, when you go to remove, make sure you really leverage against these endpoints and not break off these 2x6s. They're, I guess, 95, 20 years old, and they're probably pretty brittle, so be careful. So while I'm working on the box, I noticed that there are no side screws. The old original installation had side screws into that base plate. This one will actually, you'll screw up through the bottom in through the baseboard, and that will be it. So the next thing I'm going to do is actually take the mailbox off, and I'm going to screw in the base plate. So the base plate should be in good position for me to now position the mailbox appropriately. Just wanted to say something quickly here. So with the, I'll grab my tape measure. Since it's 19 inches across the base, just for making sure that you're centered, we have our center of post marking there. And you'll notice that if we come in, 19 inches in length, which is 9.5 from back, which is flush, to the center mark. Okay, and we're staying in line along that 3/4 inch from center line there, as well as we're a 1/2 inch off the, I guess that's a 1/4 inch it's supposed to be, off the 2x6 laterals. And do just a quick eyeball. Again, this is just to make sure our base plate, the wood base plate, is in a good position for the mailbox. I'm going to go ahead now and take the mailbox off and screw in the base plate. So after I removed the mailbox, my base plate was pretty much in place. I just made sure it was kind of lined up with my lines, and I know front to back I'm good since the mailbox fit. And I put in some deck screws. You can use pretty much anything you want. These are 10s, 2.5 inch. You want something pretty substantial. But the other concern that we have is that we don't want to split that lateral, so I could have put, one in the middle, 3 on each board, but I don't want to split that wood. I want that to remain sound, so I'm going to go with 4 strong screws right in the corners. Okay, so now that the base plate is screwed into the laterals, I just sat the mailbox right back on the base plate, and I did my 9.5 inches from the back edge to my center point, just so I can get my front to back. And I made sure my lines look good. My outside edge looks good. I opened the front and the back so I get some. So now I'm going to take a marker. I'm actually just going to mark the base plate. That's where I'll drill. So I can run my, thinking about using anchor bolts. And I'll show you what those are later. Oops. Trying to mark it, doing big circles so I get the whole diameter of the hole. So that should be good. And then I remove the mailbox. You have your drill holes marked. Okay, let me go get my drill. Okay, we have a little bit better sunlight. I went off the local department store, hardware store, and I ended up buying 1-inch carriage bolts, well 3/8 by 1 inch. I also bought the 1.5, but I think the 1 inch is going to work. So this is a carriage bolt. So how I'm going to install it is, I'm going to install it so the nut inside. You can go the other way. That'll give you a more flush surface inside, so your mail, you won't hit it. But I think the 1 inch, and actually, see how the carriage bolt kind of sits flush? There's really not an access point for anyone to remove a nut outside. So I think that's the best. So I took a 3/8 drill bit and went through the holes I marked out previously. Pushed through the carriage bolt, used the nut to clamp onto it and pull the square end, see on this, up into the wood. And then I'll be able to push down and put the nuts down on the inside. I'll show you that in a minute. My neighbor also decided to put one on, so I quickly added the board for that. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. So here's his plate, matched up. It's real easy. Took the template I had for the other one, made a second one. Pushing this nut up through, you can barely get threads on that. I'm going to stick a nut on there and use the crescent wrench or the box end wrench to actually go through and pull that head up into the wood. Okay, so I actually had to use a 9/16 socket on this 3/8 nut, and I had to take a hammer underneath and kind of pound this up a little bit to give me some threads. Now I'm putting the nut on once I get enough threads, and I'm pulling the carriage bolt up into the wood, as you can see that. Hopefully you can see that. It's also pulling it up so I get enough of a bolt so it will reach up into the mailbox. 1.5 is just too long. So that's pretty good. And I'll just take the nut off. So now it's pulled through, similar to the other one. And I'll do that for the other two as well. Okay, so again, I got the 3/8 1-inch carriage bolt. Went down to Home Depot, picked that up, along with a 3/8 nut. I drilled through the platform board with a 3/8 drill. Probably better to go a little bit wider than that. Pushed the head up through, hammered it up gently. So it went through the wood, and the square went up into the post, up into the baseboard, enough so the nut can catch on, and I tightened those down. So there's a little bit of a lip, as you can see. The nuts go a little bit higher than that ridge, but I think that's better. You can go the other way and put the head on the top, which would be less of a obstruction, I guess, with your mail, but we'll see. I again prefer having the safety of something that cannot be accessed from the outside. Alright, that's it for now. I'll install the other one. And there you go, there's both of them installed. Now these aren't safes, so don't leave your mail on them for long periods of time. The idea is, this is more difficult for a thief to get into than your standard garden variety mailboxes. So pull your mail every night, but here's a pretty good lockbox solution with sidewalk access as needed.